So I thought I'd give the garden update a little early. I have today off, and there's some personal stuff going on in my life that I'll get into later, but I really just want to take time to celebrate the garden. And also I harvested these beautiful squash and zucchini this morning, so I figured before I harvest anything else, I might as well include you in it. I think I'll start off with this beautiful cucumber. I think I'm going to harvest this today. It's getting to a decent size. I think they do possibly get longer, but I really don't want it to get so big that that it's not, you know, that it's going to be bitter or anything. And it's also the first I'm going to harvest. There's also this one I showed you last week, but I think it only got partially fertilized. I read somewhere that if both sides of the pollen of the female fruit don't get fertilized, then it gets this weird shape. So I'm gonna harvest this and we will see. I'll give a review on how it's performing. So let me go ahead and harvest this. You know, you learn all kinds of things, and I sort of knew this, but cucumbers in the garden don't come out all smooth like they do. See those prickles? Like they do in the grocery store. They get this sucker off. Come on, break off. Do it. Break. I don't want to hurt the plant. I probably should have brought my scissors. That would have been the wise thing to do. Sorry, guys. There we go. That's a nice size one. We're making Vietnamese egg summer rolls tonight, and I think this is going to be really, really nice to have in there. I'll harvest the other one off camera later, but yeah, just wanted to point it out. There's been some funny things happening with the vining of my garden, and one of them is that my cucumber plant has now decided to vine over to where the spaghetti squash is growing. I tied it because it had vined, and then I moved it and the vining came off, and I kind of like that it's getting better sun over here. But then also this pickling cucumber has decided that it wants to vine over here, and it's up here now, and I think it's heading, yep, there it is, there's the tendril. It's heading this direction. See that? So the garden's kind of doing what it wants. I put up the trellises and it's being used, but not for the purposes that I set it up. But that's totally fine. Ooh, is that a squash bug I see? I think it is. I think it's time to kill it. I'll be right back. Well, I don't mind killing cucumber beetles by hand. Squash bugs still kind of creep me out, so I had some cardboard out here that I just squashed them. Squash bug 0 ester 1. Haha. Die, little. Word I won't say because it's a video that's going to go public. Alright. The Acorn Squash. It's got another one growing here that's doing really good. And I have kind of let the vine go multiple ways. It's growing out here, as well as, of course, we already know it's going that way and has kind of started taking over the fence. But it's just kind of doing its own thing, and it seems to be happy and healthy for the most part. I have been combating some squash bugs and tomato hornworms on the tomato plants, which I'll show you in a minute, some of the evidence of that. But, you know, bugs are gonna happen, and I'm just trying to stay ahead of it as much as I can. Let's go over here and look at the flower garden. The cleomes are just taking over sort of the flower garden in general. I knew they would take up a lot of space, but I wasn't quite aware of just how freaking much they took over. That said, they are still beautiful, and so I'm not that upset about it. In fact, they're even all the way over there. See that? And the bees just love, I'll show you a picture, I'll zoom in on a picture in a second here that I took of a bee on my zinnias, but they're just loving the zinnias, and I've been wanting to cut them and bring them in the house, and I'm going to, but I just couldn't bear to do it yesterday because I thought, well, the bees really love it, and I want bees in my yard more than I want flowers in my house. Oh yeah, and the acorn squash from last week is still, it's a tiny bit bigger, but it's starting to get a darker hue to it. And I think that's a good sign. I don't know how long I have to leave it before I harvest it. I think it has to be, the skin has to be hard and possibly the vine dies back, I read somewhere. So just watching it 1 week at a time. I have another green zucchini growing, and in a day or two I will harvest another crookneck squash, but I'm going to give that another day or two to get a little bit bigger. But I'm really excited to be getting what I am from the garden. You know, it's not a whole lot all at once, but it's enough to give me stuff to put in my garden. As I've mentioned, I'm dealing with, that's caterpillar poop. I'm dealing with tomato hornworms. I'll show you a picture here of that I caught 2 the other night with my blacklight flashlight. And so far, it hasn't done huge damage to my tomato plants, but I didn't go out last night because of, like I said, I'm going through some stuff outside of gardening, and I'm now seeing evidence of the hornworm on other plants besides the original one I saw the evidence on. So I think tonight I'll have to go out with a black light and do some hunting. But otherwise, the plants are doing well. And check out, I'm gonna harvest this guy right now. It's beautiful Chito Pepper that I got from Craig Moore, her dad. Oops, well, I'm gonna be cooking that. That's gonna go in the summer rolls, the Vietnamese summer rolls tonight anyway. And I think there's another one over here somewhere. Oh, there it is. I'm gonna let this one go another day or two because we have enough. One is enough for the rolls I'm gonna do. But what I also want to show you is, look at this. My jalapeno pepper plant is finally producing little pinos. Yes, grow my babies, grow. Oh, I cannot wait to have fresh jalapeno. And if I get enough, I'm gonna make jalapeno jelly. Also, my Jimmy Nardello plant is starting to produce peppers. Yay! That is going to be the red peppers that are sweet. And look how crazy my lima bean plants are doing. I actually had to bring one down because it was growing too big and sort of started wrapping it around here in hopes that it would grow back up again. But this plant is going crazy. So if you saw my last video, you saw how I had tomato end rot, and I'll link to that at the end of this for a couple of tomatoes, but the other tomatoes on this plant still seem to be doing okay. Blackberry plants are doing really well and producing more flowers. So I think I may have some blackberries this season. And my pear tomato plant is just getting so large. Look how large that thing is now. It's growing every day. I took out there was another little mini pear plant, yellow pear tomato plant in the same bed, and I just decided to remove it because in a container there just isn't enough nutrients for both. And look how happy I am that my eggplants are producing flowers. My one eggplant that I also got from Craig is finally producing buds, and hopefully that means very soon we will have eggplants. The last thing in the front yard that I'm going to point you out to is look at this freaking cherry tomato plant. For perspective, it's almost at the top of the height of my house window. So I'm going to top off the top of this thing, probably right about there, and hope that this plant then will be able to dedicate more time and energy into growing these beauties. There's plenty of things for it to grow that I want it to. So I want to do a video of the backyard, partly to give you an update on where things are at. Well, yes, that's the whole point. But I want you to see that the potato plant here is dying back, and that's actually a good thing. You want it to die because that means the potatoes have grown as much as they can. But I'm going to wait until all of them have died back. and then I'll harvest them. So I think probably in a week or two. I was originally planning around July 10, and I think that's still going to be about right, that I'll be harvesting them, and you know I'm going to do a video on that. No question about that. The chamomile is doing nice. I need to harvest another batch, but it's so pretty. And if only you could smell how good it smells. The mint, oh, I need to get a trash bag. The mint and the lemon balm, oh, it smells so good. It's doing well. And then, since I last did the video back here 2-3 weeks ago, I pulled up the kale and the other things that were here that were kind of all dying back. And I planted dill seeds, cilantro, and chives. And you know what? The chives didn't work in the winter sowing jug, and they didn't work here, so I think they're dead. And therefore, I'm going to plant something else. You can see the dill is doing pretty well. Coming out here, there's a couple little baby dill-looking kind of shoots. And then over here where the chives were supposed to be, I'm going to plant, haven't decided, but I was at Home Depot the other day picking up something, and I'm either going to plant the flat leaf parsley or the curly parsley, or both maybe. Maybe I'll try both and see which one performs better. And while I was there, I also picked up these catnip seeds. I've seen on videos how amazing these are for attracting bees. I don't know where I'm going to plant them yet, but while I'm here, I will just show you there's a bird, a little sparrow, on the bird feeder. Oh, he just flew off. Today I weed whacked the yard, so it's looking semi-decent. You should have seen how wild it looked yesterday. This is the shaded garden back near the fence. This is the kale, which bugs are definitely getting at, but you know, it's the time of year where I'm interested in the kale. I'm harvesting and I'm cleaning it up when I use it in soups and other things, but I'm not that worried about it doing amazing and bugs not getting it. It's doing its own thing. I'm probably going to plant some more soon. This is the red sales lettuce, and every day this week when I make sandwiches, I've been harvesting a leaf or two. They're not very big leaves, but they're tasty and they're nice. So I'm glad to have that. And I just wish this arugula would frickin' just die off so that I can actually harvest the seeds, because I need them to go totally dead to be able to harvest the seeds. And you can see the seed pods here. Those are seed pods that are just about ready. I just need the plant to be finished with its cycle. This one's pretty close. There's still some flowers at the bottom of it though. Alright, now to my bramble patch. The raspberry plant on this side is just getting huge. Oh, I need to get rid of the Virginia creeper back there. And I've gotten some strawberries from this patch, but it is the first year, so I'm not expecting a whole lot. But what has been, and the blueberries are doing okay. Not amazing, but there's a hornet or a yellow jacket or some kind of thing that could sting but seems happy on my raspberries. Well, I will just be careful. I'm going around this way. But what I was going to say has surprised me the most this year has been the fact that this raspberry bush, this thing was not supposed to produce until next year. That thing was supposed to produce this fall. But this one was not supposed to produce until next year. And already I've harvested like 4 raspberries from it. And look, let me get out of the sun, out of the shade here. Look at those. Oh yeah, in fact that one looks just about ready to pull right now. Oh my god, look at that. I've been eating them and I've been feeding them to Ernie, but I tell you what, raspberries are my absolute favorite fruit. And I'm gonna eat that right now. Oh yeah. Oh my god. That is glorious. Also, since the last time I did a video, there were peas here. I've pulled them up and I've planted more of those dragon tongue bush beans. And on this side, I've planted Merlot lettuce, which is supposed to get up to a very red leaf. You can see a little bit of the red now in the leaf, but I kind of just sprinkled them instead of being super careful because I want a lot of little leaves. And this afternoon, I'm going to harvest all of my Swiss chard. And then this garden, I've just sort of let go wild. The bachelor's buttons, the blue flowers, have done really well, but they've been falling over, then they grow up. And the cleomes that had been behind it are starting to emerge a little more. You can see this cleome is starting to flower, which is exciting. But sort of the surprising part of this garden has been this sunflower. So we have a resident groundhog under our shed, and you can see the hole he comes in and out of right there. He has a couple other exit and entrance holes to get away from the dogs. And we've seen him in the yard munching on stuff, including on this sunflower. This was a volunteer plant, started on its own, and it seems to persist. Our groundhog has eaten it back again and again, and the sunflower just keeps growing. So maybe we'll end up with a flower after all, and that would make me so happy. Well, that's it for this week's garden tour. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. Tell me what you think, if you have any suggestions on how to deal with tomato hornworms. And otherwise, I'll see you next time.